There were very few beings in the galaxy that could stop Starkiller Galen Merrick dead in his tracks. It seemed as though no matter the size or the challenge that he faced, Galen and his clone had the ability to blast or cut through just about anything. But besides Lord Vader or the Emperor, there was one beast that put Starkiller in the fight of his life. A beast so large and so powerful that legend has it that not even divine beings are able to control it. That creature is the Gorog. The Gorog is considered the most dangerous land-dwelling creature in the entire galaxy, and it came very close to being the one thing that could not kill Starkiller. Even Galen himself doubted his ability to bring the monster down. So what exactly is a Gorog? What makes it so powerful? And was the specimen that Starkiller fought the only one left of its kind? Well, my friends, join us as we open a holocron and discover the mystery. For those of you that have not played The Force Unleashed 2, we'll paint a picture. One of the most powerful Force sensitives that has ever lived enters a gladiatorial arena, prepared to face his next challenge. The gates open and outruns a Rancor. Galen gets into his fighting crouch, igniting one of his lightsabers. But this apex predator is not the Gorog. The Rancor is food. A claw bursts forth from the containment chamber in the floor of the arena, grabbing the Rancor in one of its giant hands and dragging it backwards into the depths. Starkiller suddenly understands what his challenge truly is, and he ignites his second lightsaber. A monster of gargantuan form, easily the size of several buildings stacked on top of one another. This climbs its way out of the ground, slurping up the last bits of its new meal. This is the Gorog, a creature so large that just its mouth was able to swallow a Rancor whole. It had a vaguely humanoid form, with a huge muscular torso, long upper limbs, and shorter legs. The feet and lower arms of the creature were absolutely massive, tipped with huge smashing claws. But at the thighs and the biceps, the leathery flesh of the Gorog wrapped around the bone, leaving a hole where the bicep and thighs would normally be on any other humanoid creature. Its head contained a row of bone-like tusks protruding out from beneath its mouth, and those that had put the restraining collar on it, cuffs, and a chain would have taken the materials of a starship in order to build successfully. And yet, one more addition that gives this beast the ultimate fighting appearance was the triangular metal plate bolted to the side of its head. From this description, you may understand now why Starkiller was very wary of this new foe. But the real question is, where did the Gorog come from? This is the best part. No one actually knows the creature's real origin. It is unknown what planet the Gorog hails from, or if the specimen Starkiller fought is the only one of its species. Unfortunately though, no records in the lore that we could find indicate that another Gorog exists out there anywhere, on any other planet. The only piece of information we have about the Gorog's potential origins comes from an old religious text known as the Yorgalok. According to myth or legend, the first Gorog was created by a deity. The legend comes from an unknown primitive people known as the Regau, and according to the text, a creator deity had the dream of making something greater than himself. This desire gave birth to the Gorog, which promptly grabbed the deity in one of its hands, crushing its father, creator, and god instantaneously. From that point forward, the Gorog was simply loose on the galaxy, and began to scour the land for food. A creature of this size was constantly eating, and was extremely aggressive. The Yorgalok text warns that this is the end of all things, and that only those that hide in the shadows will survive the Gorog. In the game, it is unknown how the villain, the Baron Tarko, came into possession of the Gorog, but he would have it trapped within the Tarko Se arena on the world of Cato Neimoidia. The Baron, who was an Imperial leader, had ascended through the ranks with the help of Grand Moff Tarkin. He himself became a Moff before securing a comfy spot on Cato Neimoidia as its reigning governor. He took the name of a Baron and established a gladiatorial arena that he named after himself in order for the citizens to watch battles and executions for sport or pleasure. He had many dangerous animals cooped up there which he'd unleashed on the rebels that he captured in a public display. Jedi such as General Rom Koda decided to take an unsanctioned mission to the world of Cato Neimoidia to stop the Baron, as the Jedi ignored the greater warnings of the Alliance. Rom Koda took it upon himself to lead an unapproved assassination mission against the Baron. However, he ended up captured and thrown into the arena, where he would then spend 7 days straight fighting whatever monsters the Baron threw at him. But soon, the freshly escaped clone of Galen Merrick traveled to the world to liberate Rom Koda. Upon seeing the Imperial marked ship, the Baron believed that Lord Vader was paying him a personal visit, and went out as a part of a welcoming party to greet him on the landing pad. When it was Starkiller who stepped out instead though, the Baron was surprised and asked him for clearance codes. Obviously at this point, the clone knew none, as all he had ever really known besides the flashbacks were the Kaminoan cloner labs. He'd never actually done any work for the Empire, and so he didn't have any of the codes necessary. Eventually, as Starkiller made his way into the arena, the Baron made his way to the observation deck and ordered the release of the Gorog, to which his assistant begged him not to. He said that the containment measures had not been properly tested yet, but the Baron, panicked at having two Jedi hunting him, especially one as powerful as Galen Merrick, ignored all warnings and commanded the Gorog to be released. As the monster made its presence known, it immediately targeted Galen as the first thing that it saw. It tried to grab him and eat him, but once that didn't work, it tried to smash him with his giant claw. Starkiller tried to use the Force to restrain the monster, trapping the monster's large arms by hooking its restraint cuffs into the wall. But each time he managed to do that and injure the creature, the Gorog would just break free. Finally, Galen had the idea to bring the monster's head down using its collar. When he did this, he jumped on its head and used the Force to tear off the metal plate. This revealed a scar underneath, from which was a likely attempt to surgically implant any sort of restraining methods into the Gorog, which again failed on Cato Neimoidia. Starkiller buried his lightsaber deep into the scar, but all this seemed to do was enrage the monster. It broke free of its restraints and began tearing up the arena, all of the supporting beams. The fight was taken up to the rafters, as Starkiller went to the high ground with the Gorog chasing him. The Imperials did what they knew best to do and opened fire on the massive creature. But the blaster fire was merely gnat bites to this massive creature. It had tunnel vision onto Starkiller and was attempting to bring him down, stomping him with its meaty fists. It is here revealed that the Gorog's own breath was powerful enough to concuss humanoids with its mighty gale. But Galen fortified himself, trying to stop the creature's attack, trying to constantly slice at its hands, keeping it from maintaining a grip on the arena's support beams. Finally, Starkiller was able to escape the Gorog for a moment and join Rom Koda in engaging the Baron up in the balcony. The two Jedi made very short work of his stormtrooper company, but the Gorog found them again, slamming its large claw on the Baron and tossing him into his mouth. It then grabbed Rom Koda and attempted to do the same thing, before it ultimately lost its grip on the balcony and fell to the arena below. The already unstable structure finally gave way under the beast's bulk, and it caved inward. Starkiller leapt off of the high-rise and dove after the fallen creature, and the three of them went tumbling down into the distant depths of Cato Neimoidia. While still falling, Starkiller and the Gorog continued to battle, with the clone of Galen giving it his all, or at least doing what he could whilst literally in a free fall at a terminal velocity. At long last, Starkiller knew what he had to do to end the creature before it hit the ground, or Rom Koda would die. Galen channeled all of his power inward, and then rocketed himself towards the creature, shooting right through the Gorog's chest like a javelin would. As the monster's eyes rolled closed, it released the grip of Rom Koda. But with all of that said, we believe that this was not the end for the Gorog. You see, the Gorog could have survived this, as its species is known to have two hearts. And if you actually look at the lore, it's confirmed in the comic that the Gorog did in fact survive. Its midsection was mostly broken open, but it was still alive despite the fall. In the Force Unleashed 2 comic, the creature would be found again by Boba Fett, who was hired by Vader to track down Galen Merrick. Boba Fett would see the creature in a large canyon as he went about scanning the area, but that's when the beast awoke once more, taking a large swipe at Boba. Boba, however, managed to roll to his feet and quickly scanned the creature's vitals. He learned that it had two hearts. One of them was still actively beating. Lining up his shot with the helmet's targeting systems, Boba fired his jetpack missile into the Gorog's chest, but this only served to open up its flesh, not kill the creature. But Boba was not done. He jetpacked straight through the Gorog's chest again, this time aiming for the second heart. Now covered in leftovers and blood, Boba flew back to the ground and watched the creature fall over to the earth with a shaking thud. The Gorog was dead at last. But that by far is the most dangerous land-dwelling creature in Star Wars. Putting in our own personal opinion, I actually love when Star Wars gets larger than life with its creatures. Big monsters are a staple for the franchise, beings like Tyranids, Rancors, Sarlaccs, and more. But sometimes those specific monsters can be overused, so it's awesome to get a freshly massive, new powerful beast that even Starkiller struggled with. It's also great that all we really have on the creature is sketchy religious texts. The biggest mystery is we don't know if it's part of a species or if it's one of a kind. A planet filled with Gorogs is certainly a terrifying sight though. Another thing I like about the Gorog is they don't ever try to humanize it. It's clearly a large, aggressive monster. But the best part, and the most interesting part, is its creator deity lore. In legend, the Gorog was an experiment which had gone wrong, but not an experiment from a Jedi or a Sith, but rather someone that many considered to be a deity, or at least a primitive people did. So my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think the true origins of the Gorog really are? Is it an experiment gone wrong? Is it a part of a larger species out there among the stars that is yet to be fully explored? Or is it something else entirely? As always, my friends, force crush that subscribe button for more Star Wars lore, and have a phenomenal day.